Good morning, Venice Church. We're going to be reading from 1 Thessalonians 5:11. So speak encouraging words to one another. Build up hope so you'll all be together in this. No one left out, no one left behind. I know you are already doing this. Just keep on doing it. We are called to come together as Christ's church. So as we go into this next song, let us all lift each other up with our words as we praise God this morning. People come together.
People come together, strangers, neighbors, our blood is one. Children of generations of every nation, your kingdom come. Don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth. God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Oh, oh, oh.
the Lord today, knowing what he has done for us. Swing wide, all you heavens.
Swing wide, all you heavens. Let the praise go up as the walls come down. And all creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. And all the children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus.
Swing wide. Swing wide.
Swing wide, all you heavens. Let the praise go up as the walls come down. And all creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. And all his children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus.
Yes, he is.
Swing wide, all you heavens. Let the praise go up as the walls come down. And all creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. And all his children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Just swing wide, all you heavens. Let the praise go up as the walls come down. And all creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. And all his children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus.
Sing this out.
Jesus, our redemption, our salvation is in his blood. Jesus, light of heaven, friend forever, is King of all. Amen, amen. God, we thank you, we praise you. Let your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. God, we honor you. We thank you so much that we can pause our crazy, busy lives and look back to you. God, give us strength. Give us joy this morning in your name. Amen.
Hey, my name is Mike Drew, and I've been hosting a men's group for about a year. I was going through some stuff with my wife and my family. We were going through a tough season. I just decided, hey, I need more than just one person or two people to be able to vent and talk to. So I decided to get out of my comfort zone and host my own growth group. After 22 years in the military, I still had a fear of opening up with my personal life to anyone, just a group of guys. This is not natural. Thankful that I did start a group and choose to lead a group because the friendships. Just with that alone, being able to have those friendships, being able to understand and be more considerate to my wife and my family, and just being able to be out in the community a lot more and do more with the group it's been a real blessing. I grew up in the church, but I never had, I can't just tell you every Bible verse that's out there. You know, that's what my fear was. I really don't know everything about the Bible I think I should know to be a group leader. I was just honest with everybody. I said, hey, I'm the most jacked up guy in this group, but we'll be all jacked up together, and we'll find a way. We'll do something about it to get better. Anyone out there that has been thinking about starting a group, I would give them encouragement by saying, hey, you don't have to be the smartest guy or girl in the group. Just do it. Just have fun with it. You're gonna make mistakes, and no one's perfect. Just go with it. Now that I look back at it, hindsight 2020 now, I should have started it earlier. I should have did it a lot earlier.
Hey guys, good morning. How are we? Good morning, Peter. I'm good. So what are you going to talk to us about today?
It takes you to our website, venice.church/groups, and you can sign up online. So there's no excuse to not sign up.
What have groups meant to you?
Groups have, my men's group, we met all through COVID and virtually, and it was a time where we could pray for each other, encourage one another, help one another, and so meaningful. It was and is a powerful time.
Yeah, groups are a great time to get connected. A lot of you are new, you just started coming, so this is a great way to meet other people that go here and do life together. That's what we're all about. We always say that circles are better than rows. So come, circle up, join a group. I promise you won't regret it. They're super fun. And yeah, like Peter said, it's a support system. So if you guys are interested, lots of ways to sign up. All right, we've got some other stuff going on. We are getting ready to start our training. It's one day of training for our kids ministry. So this is a great chance to sign up if you're interested in helping out with the kids. Our VC Kids is from infants to 6th grade. So if you're interested in helping out with those grades, we would love to have you. Our training is going to be next Sunday, right after service. Lunch will be provided. You can scan the QR code. You can email me. You can come see me after service. I would love to talk to you guys about what it means to help out with our kids and how you can pour into their little lives and really make an impact. So come see me, email me, sign up. I want you guys on our kids team. All right, we also, for those of you who are new, we have an app. We're that cool. So it's a great way to get the sermon fill-ins. You can fill out your connection card there. That's how we stay in touch with you. You can get announcements, find out events that are going on, all through the app. So I want to encourage you guys to go to wherever you download your apps, look for the Eastlake Church app. That's part of our network. And sign up and download it and get all the information you need to take full advantage of all we have to offer here. So thank you guys for doing that, because I know you are. See the phones out. We're good. What else do you have for us, Peter?
All right, guys, we are in week 6 of our series, How Not to Save the World. Let's jump in.
Right. Good morning. Right on. So we're in a series, this one of our end of summer series called How Not to Save the World, talking about lies that will prevent us from being a part of moving the mission forward. Number of years ago, my first church that I ever pastored, little did I know that my very good friend, and he was actually our children's pastor at that time, showed up this morning. Didn't even realize he was going to be here, Danny. But I became the pastor of this church when I first started. It was about 30 years ago or so. There was about 12 people in the church, which is the only reason they hired a guy like me, because they just... I would have done anything, and we would celebrate anybody who ever came. It was like just this big deal. We wanted to grow the church, and it had been a number of months, and we had gotten up to maybe around 40 people or so, and then this family walks through the door. And it was like a real family, like a husband and a wife and 2 kids. And my first thing is like, what are you doing here? You know? But they looked normal and dressed normal. And I was like, you know what happens when you're a small little church and all of a sudden like a family walks in, you know, everybody in there is just like coming at them, try to welcome them like 400 times before they leave. So they came back again the next Sunday. I thought, all right, you're good. So I'm going to invite you to dinner. We did. We invited them to come over to our house that next Friday night. They came over, and we're having a nice dinner. We finished dinner, and all of a sudden I think, well, okay, here's the perfect segue. And his name is Wes. And I told him, I said, hey, Wes, you know, there's some great opportunities that we have because we're just growing now. We're starting, you know, kind of fresh to, we need people to serve in the church. And right when I did that, he went into like, you know, rappel mode. And he goes, let me stop you right there, man. Let me just stop you right there. That's not for me. And then the floodgates opened. And he shared with me how he had been a part of this one church, and he'd been in there ever since he was a kid. And another pastor came in here a couple years ago, and now there was fights and there was politics going on and people leaving the church and others trying to control. And he felt like even the pastor was duplicitous. And then his mom, who was a secretary for 20 years, got fired, and there's factions. And he left. Him and his wife and his kids left. He had been doing nothing for a few months, but he knew the kids needed to be in church. He wasn't sure how he felt about things anymore because the church is full of hypocrites and broken people and all that kind of stuff. Now, fast forward 6 months later, Wes is probably the greatest leader in our church and contributor and part of moving the mission forward. Church just about won in keeping him out of church. You know what I'm saying? Hypocritical people. Kind of maybe a pastor who did some things that were wrong, almost pushed him away from God. Did Wes have the right to be offended? Yes, absolutely. Did he have a right to be hurt or even judgmental? Yeah, I suppose so. What made the difference with Wes then, that now, a number of months later, he's moving the mission forward? I believe it was his willingness to be honest. And to just take a step back and say, okay, because this happened doesn't mean they're all this way, right? And to look at this thing and to call, you know, right, and wrong, but then go through the process of getting healed and go through the process of forgiveness so that he wasn't taken out. Church, although it's broken and we know it will be, why is the church, why can't it be hypocritical? Why can there be hypocrites in hurting people in the church? Let me say it like this. Where are there a group of people that come together anywhere where there's not brokenness and a level of hypocrisy as well? I'm not sure when the church got labeled as the poster child for hypocrites. You know, do they exist? Yeah. Why? Because people are in the church. And we're all just a bit messed up and jacked up and a little bit, screwed up. And so we bring that with us wherever we go. So are you going to find it in the church? Yeah. Does that mean the whole church is that way, the Big C church? Of course not. I wonder how many other people have had similar experiences to Wes, but instead of getting healed, instead of bringing honesty, instead of bringing, transparency to it, they just barricaded themselves and said, I'm out of here. And whenever that happens, that's when we start to believe this lie. We've been exposing lies in this series. Here's the one today. You can write it in if you have your app, you have the outline. The lie is this: you don't need the church because there's too many hypocrites and too much religion. How many of you ever, let me have a show of hands. You've either said that, something similar to that yourself, or you've heard it from somebody else. Yeah. The rest of you are just a little too tired to raise your hand because we've all heard it. Church's full of hypocrites, or I don't need this because they're this way, or they're judgmental, or they're that, and I get it. Here's, again, the thing is, we are all broken. We are all flawed. We're all messed up. Every single one of us. We shine on some days, don't we? We do. We shine on some days and we pollute on others. We exhibit some wonderful traits of Jesus at times in our lives, and other times we're acting selfish, and we're acting judgmental and uncaring. I know we know this truth, but I want you to really just kind of grasp the profundity of it. There's only one who's perfect, and that's Jesus. The rest of us, this side of heaven, we've got things that we bring into whatever relationship we're in, including the church. And because the church is full of broken people who we invite to come, and people who are flawed and hurting just like us, because of that, offenses will happen. Hurt will happen. And when we get hurt by a church or by a Christian, and if we don't process that hurt and bring truth into that thing, we will make blanket statements about a group of people. That offense that we had, that happened to us, will get infected, and all of a sudden we will excommunicate ourselves from those hurtful, hypocritical people. Now there's so many problems with that, because we're the ones who get ripped off with that. Because where there are broken people, there are also wonderful people too, who can bring a lot of healing in Jesus' name. But here's the problem we have with that when we start attacking that church, whatever it is that the church is called, one of the names it's called, is the bride of Christ. The bride, we're called, if you're a part of the church, you're a follower of Christ, you are a part of the Big C church, right? You are called the bride of Christ, not the girlfriend of Christ, not the neighbor of Christ. You're called married to the Lord, the bride of Christ. And I don't want to mess with somebody else's bride. Do you know what I'm talking about? I mean, here's the truth. You can say things about me personally. I know it's hard for some of you to believe that anybody would ever do that to yours truly. Those of you who know me know. No, I get it. I know why they would. You can slander, you can say things about Mark, and I may even get hurt, or I may feel it, but life goes on. You just kind of get used to that kind of stuff and happen. But there are 3 different people that I really don't want to hear about if you have something to say. First 2 are my kids and my grandkids. You know what I'm talking about. How many mama bears and papa bears out there? It's like, your kid is a little brat, but you don't want anybody else to tell you that. You know what I'm saying? They're insufferable, right? But let somebody else tell you that, and you're like, we're going to blows. I don't know what that was right there. I think I was doing the Karate Kid thing or something. I don't know. You're ready. So kids and grandkids, right? Don't touch. The other, and I speak for almost every man out there, is you don't talk bad about my bride. My wife, right? I mean, you know what she's like, right? She can be like, whatever that is, right? Except for mine. She's not in here today right now. So I feel a little freedom to say whatever I want right now. She's not here. But whatever it is, she's got that little thing. She could be a little bit, but at least she's your whatever. She's yours, whatever, right? Don't let somebody else try to point that out. Because who is that? That's my bride. That's my bride. That's my bride. I remember I was in about junior high school, and we were in the car. My dad, my mom, I have an older brother and a younger brother, so the three of us, and then my older brother's friend Troy was with us, and we were coming back. I remember this so vividly. I remember what road we were on, Ignacio Valley Road in Walnut Creek. And we were coming over the hill, and we're coming down, and Troy, he was fun. And so he would cut it up, and it happened to be one of those drives, and he's just doing his thing, and he's like singing this song, and he's adding like rap to it or something, and he's kind of roasting everybody in the car, right? My brother, and then he's coming after me, and he's singing, and he's doing this, and it's fun. And Dad's driving, and Mom's in the front seat, and all of a sudden he goes after my mom and starts saying some stuff about her. And he meant it as funny, but he's saying stuff about her. And my dad, who was driving, all of a sudden goes like this. I mean, the man took his eyes literally off the road for probably like 10 seconds of just looking at me. He goes, "Hey, Troy, yeah, that's fun. You can do whatever you want to all of us, but when it comes to Mrs. Randolph, no go. No go. That's my bride. That's my wife. We understand each other?" Troy's back there like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." Dad, finally, I'm just freaking out like, "You got to get your eyes back on the road." Because and he goes, "All right, good. We're back." And I remember that to this day. Two reasons. Number one, like the atmosphere in the car radically shifted, right there. So it's like, awkward. But the other was, I remember being like impressed with him. Like, whoa, my dad, man, he's got my mom's back. Like, that's his lady. That's his lady right there. That's my mom, but that's his gal. That's his lady. And that's a no-fly zone right there. She's untouchable. And I remember as a kid being impressed with that. There's something about that. This is why we don't talk bad about Jesus' bride. It's no way to show love to him, to insult or attack the one that he loves so much, his bride, right? And I'm not saying, well, let me have you write the truth down. Here's the truth first. Write this down. The truth is this. The truth is better with you in it. The bride is better. The church is better with you in it. Don't tear down the very community that you are called to grow. And that doesn't mean that we ignore hurts or dysfunctions or anything like that, or to stay in unhealthy places or in unhealthy relationships. I'm saying deal with the hurts. You're going to experience them. Even in the church, deal with the hurts. Set up boundaries with unhealthy people in your life. Leave an unhealthy church if they're unhealthy. I really don't. I've been doing this for a long time. I do not get why somebody would go Sunday after Sunday to some place they can't stand. I'm like, do them and yourself a favor. Find somewhere where you agree with it and feel good about what's going on. So you can leave an unhealthy church if you feel it's toxic or whatever. I mean, don't be too hard on it. There's no perfect church. But it doesn't mean you leave the big C church. Doesn't mean you leave that. The church is better with you in it, right? It's better with you in it. And so what I want to do for the remainder of our time is I want to look at one passage, John chapter 17. And Jesus is praying to the Father. This is really what should be called the Lord's Prayer. I know we refer to the Lord's Prayer as the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And that's more of him teaching on how to pray. But this is his high priestly prayer. He's praying for these disciples of his that he's about to leave because he knows his death is coming. And he's praying for all of those who would believe on him through their testimony. That's you and I. So here's who he was praying for. He was praying for his future bride. I always tell single people to do that. Pray for that girl before you ever meet her. Pray for that guy. Pray for God to prepare them. Pray for them. Moms, dads, pray for the future bride of your children. Jesus was praying for you and I in this passage specifically for us, those of us who would believe on him through the teachings of the disciples. And so we pick it up in John chapter 17. Let's look at verse 11. He says, Holy Father, you have given me your name. Now protect them, these followers, by the power of your name, so that they will be united just as we are. The longest prayer that is ever recorded that he prayed deals around one central theme, the unity of the church. And he's saying, God, let them be united. He does not want this church to be torn apart from the inside out. God knows enough pressure comes from the outside in. And so he's saying, Lord, help them to be united. So I want to look at this prayer, and I want to see 3 ways that you and I could join together in building the church, even with all of its warts and imperfections. How can we come together and build the church? If you're open to that idea, I want to give you 3 things to think about. Number 1 is this. You can write this down. To attract people to Jesus, we must live like Jesus in holiness. Now, holiness, I don't know about for you, but it's one of those words that when you say something like that, you tend to kind of go, oh, forget about it. I cannot do it. Holiness. That means I shouldn't do this, and I shouldn't do this, and I shouldn't do this, and I better not do this, and I better not speak this way. How many of you can kind of like, that's how I associate that word holiness. Like, oh, it just reminds me of all the things I'm not supposed to do in order to be holy, right? How many of you know some of those people right there? How many of you have been repelled by some of those people right there, right? The God's police squad seeking to bust you if you, whatever. Anyways, holiness doesn't mean perfection. Holiness means to be set apart. It means to be set apart, that you are set apart from how you used to be, from a world that doesn't know Christ. You are set apart for a specific purpose. That's what holiness means. In fact, he prayed right here in John chapter 17, verse 15. He says, I'm not asking you to take them out of the world. No. But to keep them safe from the evil one. They do not belong to this world any more than I do. So make them holy by your truth. Teach them your word, which is truth. Just as you sent me into the world, I am sending them into the world. And I give myself as a holy sacrifice for them so they can be made holy by your truth. So Jesus prayed that his church, his body, his bride would become holy, meaning they would be in the world, but they would be set apart. They would be set apart for a specific purpose, to have an impact on the world, to love the world. But that set apart means that at some point we begin to look different, we begin to think different, we begin to act different, right? That should be the normal evolution of somebody who has surrendered their lives to Jesus, that over time, the way we handle somebody or the way we forgive or how we make decisions and how we spend our money or spend our time, it's different. We are set apart. That's what holiness means. How many of you have ever seen those pictures where it's like, over time, it's like the dog owner and the dog look alike? Have you ever seen it? It's like they spend so much time together. I found some pictures on the internet this week where I was like, that is too much. They belong together. Here, let's show, right? I'm going to call her Gail. I don't know why. Okay, what's the next one? They belong to each other. Okay, next one. Oh, I love that one. The dog's even got a collar. Okay, go ahead. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Okay, next one. I remember this one. Come on, this is a good one. Right, yeah. Fabio and Fabio's dog. And then in honor of Sam and his dog, Mahina. Yes, yes, Sambo. If we're truly following Jesus, just being honest, our lives should begin to look like his. It just is. And I'm not trying to, make it about do's and don'ts. It has nothing to do with that. But if we're living a life surrendered to him and walking in a relationship with him over time, our lives should begin to look like his. And that is the way that we help others see God. Jesus revealed the Father to us by how he handled people, the love in which he lived, and his generosity. Everything about him was revealing to us who God was. And that's the same thing with us. He's saying, may they be holy, set apart, so that they may see you, God. Use them to impact. This is what being holy is all about, that you're set apart so people see something in you that is attractional, that causes them to go, hey, what's the reason for the hope that's in your life? You know? Last week, I told you the account of when I came to the Lord. I hadn't spoke about that in many years, and I shared with you that it was when I was incarcerated. I was locked up for a couple of years. And in there, this guy named Keith was the one who actually led me to the Lord. And the fascinating thing about Keith is it wasn't like he had this great knowledge of the Bible. Keith had only given his heart to God about 6 months earlier. He had never been in church in his life. He didn't own a Bible. I had to explain to him what Easter even meant because he had no idea. He had no concept of Jesus. He didn't know the story of Jesus. He didn't know the cross or anything. He was lost. But then he met Jesus by reading a New Testament Bible in prison. And he gave his heart to him, and it transformed him. The thing that did it for me, I watched him for like 3 months before I ever started to engage and talk with him, because I was raised in church. But I saw, and there's no exaggeration, I saw something in this dude. And it wasn't, that he was so holier than thou or he didn't do this. No, he was just a regular guy. But I saw something in him that did not exist in anybody else in there. And it was like this joy, this hope, and it wasn't phony. It wasn't like, like some Christians, how you doing? I'm great, blessed, overflowing. How are you? It's like, ugh, I don't want that. I'd rather be miserable than that. Do you know what I'm saying? I can handle misery. That I can't handle. No, this guy, Keith Byfield, man, he had life in him. He had life in him, how he handled people, how he handled work in there, everything. We were incarcerated. He was in a prison, and he was the most free person I had ever met in my life. That's a statement. I never met somebody quite like him. And I think the thing that so differentiated him from the rest of us was that he had purpose. There were walls around us, and yet there was none around him. Every day it was like, all right, God, what are we doing? And he had a smile, and he had purpose, and he walked with purpose, and he shared Jesus, not in a weird way. And it was so attractional to me that I had to have what this dude had. And I asked him about it. And he told me about Jesus. And I said, I've been raised in that. He goes, I don't care what you've been raised in. Have you met him? And that's what I shared last week when I got down on my knees right there in the common area and gave my heart to God. And it happened because this dude was holy. And it wasn't that he never cussed or he never did any of that. It wasn't that. He was holy. He was set apart. Hey, little fun side note. I didn't share this last week. By the time I got out of there, which was about 6 months later, there was a dorm that we lived in, which was 100 guys, right? By the time I got out of there, no exaggeration, over 85% of those guys were now walking with Jesus Christ. 85% of them. I kid you not. In the dorm, it was a bed, small cot, I should say, cot, locker, cot, locker, cot, locker, cot, locker. And that was the whole thing, row after row. I remember about a month before I got released, I remember looking out there with Keith, looking out at the dorm, and you saw pockets of guys praying over here. Bibles were on the lockers. There was others praying this. Some guy had his guitar, and they're singing, and I'm going, Keith, look at this, man. This is a Christian camp we are in right now. This is not prison. This is insane. I got out of there 10 years later. 10 years later, I was speaking at a men's camp that was in that area. And so I had some free time one day, and I got in my car and I headed back over to that place where I'd spent a couple years locked up. And I got over there and I went to the offices, the administrative offices, and I said, hey, I used to be here. Is there any way I can get in and just kind of walk the grounds for, nostalgia reasons? And they were like, no. You can't just go in, The walls are for a reason, you idiot. So I was like, oh yeah, duh, I'm sorry about it. Yeah, sure. But I said, how long have you been here? She was the secretary there. And we began to talk. And I said, well, I was in there, about 10 years ago. And she's like, really? I go, yeah, I was in here. She's like, how are you doing? I'm good. I'm a pastor at church. She goes, oh, you're a Christian. I go, yeah, I was in here that I gave my heart to the Lord. And she goes, how long ago was that? I go, it was about 10 years. I think it was 1987 when I made that decision for Christ, and it was right here. And it's kind of encouraging. I hope it's encouraging. When we find Jesus in here, it sticks with a lot of us. She goes, we still talk about that time. The guards at that time thought it was like a ruse. It was kind of like a strategy to have some kind of riot erupt that we were going to. They thought like they're trying to get us all to put our guard down so they can, execute violence or something. They couldn't believe there can't really be this many Jesus-loving inmates. She said, every now and then that time will come up and we'll talk about it. Remember what God did. It all started because this dude, Keith, was holy in the sense that he was set apart. Don't live your life so hard to conform to a world that is waiting for you to stand out. Do you know what I'm saying? The world needs some people to stand out, and not stand out in weirdness, stand out in righteousness, in the way that you forgive, in the way that you love, in the way that we handle stress. There should be something about our lives that is a little different. Why? There should be a measure of joy because we've been forgiven. We're not walking around in shame anymore. Our past has been forgiven. There should be a measure really in our lives, and I know a lot of you, so I know this is true, where there's peace because even though we still have to go through the storms, we've got a God who is with us in every one of them. And so they see some peace in our lives. And they should see purpose in our lives. We're set aside for a purpose because we are a part of the greatest rescue mission ever known, to see mankind reconciled to God the Father. And so that's the first way right there, if you hadn't written that down, to attract people, that there would be a measure of holiness in our lives. Here's the second one, and I'll be quick. To attract people to Jesus, we must live like Jesus in unity. So, we're talking about unity, not uniformity, right? Everybody say unity. Not uniformity. If everyone in your church looks like you, acts like you, talks like you, thinks like you, votes like you, you're not in a church, you're probably in a cult. Right then. Okay? We are talking about unity, not uniformity. The church can be diverse. Ethnically, we can be diverse generationally, socially. Even politically, we can be diverse. Why? Because our unity is based on something entirely different, and that's our faith in Jesus Christ. We are unified because we believe in the one true God. Look how Jesus prays for this. Verse 20, he says, I am praying not only for these disciples, but also for all who will ever believe in me through their message. That's you and I. We're those who have believed on God the Father through the message. I pray that they will all be one. Think about this. Think about what he's asking here. I pray that they would all be one just as you and I are one. As you are in me, Father, and I am in you. And may they, that's us, be in us so that the world will believe you sent me. I have given them the glory you gave me, so they may be one, us, as we are one, I in them and you are in me. May they experience, this is a prayer for us right here today. May they experience such perfect unity that the world will know you sent me and that you love them as much as you love me. See, that's crazy. That's what he was saying. He's going, the main characteristic that will be so apparent that you are real is the love and the unity that they have for one another. Why do you think then that the enemy of our souls is so determined and so strategic to try to get Christians to fight or to get slander on the church or anything else? Because it's our unity that will attract the world. And have you ever known a better time for the church to stand out in unity, or what the world needs to see is unified? Unity, not uniformity. And unity is not, it's not like it's just a new pursuit. I mean, corporations want unity in their companies and with their employees, right? Families want unity. The United States has a motto about this. Who knows what our motto for unity is? E pluribus unum, right? E pluribus unum. It's printed on our currency. You got one of these? This is called cash. I know some of you are like, what manner of witchcraft is that? On this, printed on this, our motto, it says e pluribus unum, which is Latin for out of many, one. Out of many, come one. And it's this idea that the United States would be this melting pot that would bring in from every tribe and every tongue, different ethnicities, different ideologies, and we come together to form one united nation. How are we doing on that? I mean, it's not funny though, is it? I mean, it is, but it's like, we stink at it right now. We're not, it's not, we're so divided right now, right? I mean, every little thing. God, you're afraid to say your opinion on something anymore for whatever backlash is going to come. It's not unity. Now, I love our country. I really do. I love this country. It has beautiful ideals. It leads the world in freedom and democracy. It's a beautiful melting pot. It really is. That tribes and tongues have come from all over the world. It leads the world in equal opportunity for people. But the hope of the world, friends, is not the United States of America. It's not. The hope of the world is not the United Nations. The hope of the world is Jesus. And our unity runs deeper, and I love these things, but our unity runs deeper than a Constitution or a Bill of Rights. The unity that the church shares is that we share the same God and a faith in Jesus. And I think right now we are living in such an important moment in history that our world needs to see a united church, not a religious church, a united church, a community of those who choose to unite and to love. And that takes precedence over our personal preferences. That they would see that example. Hear me on this, especially if you are new to Venice Church. I want you to understand this. In this church, and this is our network as well, we don't tolerate tearing down Christians in other churches. It's not okay to do. It's not. We are for every church that preaches Jesus Christ. They may not do it like we do. They may be, in my opinion, a little too far this or too that, whatever. Those are opinions. We do not slander or tear down. If they're preaching Jesus Christ, now if they're a religious cult or causing harm in people's lives and stuff like that, we want to say, get out of there. Go, leave them. Leave them. It's not healthy. But just because some church does it this way, or somebody got hurt in this church over here. I have that happen to me all the time. Somebody will come to our church and say, I can't go to that place anymore. You have no idea what that pastor did to me. I'm like, you might be saying that about me 6 months from now. I don't know. I don't know. And maybe he did. Or maybe it was perceived. Or maybe there's truth to it and you need to leave because it's toxic. But we don't slander. We don't slander. We don't set ourselves up as somehow the spiritual police for every other church and how they're doing it or they're not doing it. Oh my gosh, we ain't got problems enough. We got to fight each other on a way which really should be, or they're too much that way. We just don't. Look, I want you to look at this passage. I was thinking about this passage this week. This is a mind blower, in my opinion. It really is. We need to grasp how Jesus feels about this subject we're talking about right now. Real quick, look at it. Mark chapter 9, starting with verse 38. So the disciples are there, and they're a little ticked off because they saw these other guys doing the work of the ministry, and they're not part of their group. And they're like, we got to go tell Jesus. And so they come. And they want to tattle on these guys over here. And they're like, Jesus, Master, we saw another man casting out unclean spirits in your name, but he was not one of our group. And so we told him to stop what he was doing. Like he'd be proud of them. Way to go. Way to have my back. Right? And what does Jesus say? He says, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. Anyone using my name to do a miracle cannot turn quickly and speak evil of me. Listen to him. He says, anyone who isn't against us is for us. The truth of the matter is this: anyone who gives you a cup of cool water to drink because you carry the name of your anointed one, Jesus, will be rewarded. But, he says, now get this. If anyone turns even the smallest of my followers away from me, it'd be better for him if someone had hung a millstone around his neck and flung him into the deepest part of the sea. You get what he says right there? He's going, the issue isn't that they do it differently. They do. The issue isn't that they're flawed. They are. We're going to have that wherever the church exists. He says, that's not the point. Here's what you want to really be on guard. Not, protecting everybody from those people who, do it this way. Here's the real issue. Do not be one who turns a little one away because you slandered them. Because you were critical and slanderous and a gossip about them. And because of the words that came out of your mouth, somebody who was young in their faith got turned away. Don't be that one, he's saying. That's how Jesus feels the importance of what it is that we do here, trying to create unity. I'm telling you, I just personally, it's an area with me over 30 plus years of doing this. It's like, man, I'm like, just leave them alone. I know you wish they would do it differently and you think they speak too hard or they're too this or that. Then don't be a part of that one. It's okay, but leave them. Just leave them. Let God. That's his bride. That's his bride. And you don't speak evil of somebody's bride, even if you know she got warts. You know what I'm saying? You're just going to let that go. The church is his bride. And so next time we feel like we want to just kind of be slanderous towards somebody that's in his bride, because you're all a part of his bride, and we want to gossip about somebody that's a part of his bride, or another church that's his bride, part of his bride, watch yourself. Think about whose bride it is you're talking about. And just take a step to think before we do that. Okay, last one real quick. To attract people to Jesus, we must live like Jesus in love. So we're going to go out. We're going to go out and do our thing. It's all right. Leave it up there. I want you to think about this motto here, and it's very simple. Lead with love. Lead with love. Go and put that on. There we go. Everybody say that with me. Lead with love. Yeah. Especially during this time in our country and in our culture where there's a shortage of it, right? And there's a lot of hostility and self-righteous and arrogant and conflict and pain and stuff like that. There's an absence of love. And what the world does need today, not to be corny, it's true, is they need to see a display of love. They need to see that. And it needs to start even in the church and as we deal with the world. And don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. I'm not saying real love does not abandon truth. So it's not just like love, like, rainbows and butterflies. Like the silly stuff you'll hear sometimes. Well, all that matters is that you're happy. That is a dumb thing to say because it's not all that matters. What if the thing that they think is making them happy is killing them? Love steps in. Love steps in and brings truth. But we lead. Everybody say lead. We lead with love. So if love is not leading, then we need to tell our lips to be quiet. Because it's not helping when we're not leading with love. It's like throwing a cold blanket over somebody who's already shivering. You may think you're helping, but you're only hurting the situation. And so love leads. And so that means that we want to listen, and then we can share. We want to see people. We want love to be out front. We want to see. Then we can bring action. And that's why that parable where he's talking about, the big plank in your own eye, remove it first, then you can see clearly to help the brother who's got a speck in his. That's the thing. Until we're leading with love, don't. Do what you need to do to get your heart clean so that you can lead with love. That's how we're going to heal a broken and fragmented world, to lead with love. But here, the only way we can do that as human beings, to lead with love and how we handle each other, how we handle the world, is if we have been loved. If to the degree that you've really been healed by love is the degree that you can really bring healing to others by love. We know this saying, hurt people hurt people. People who have been loved by God and receive that extravagant love into their hearts, they can now bring love to other people. So that's how it starts, is with you, not just trying to do better or to not do wrong. It's to come out of the fountain, this incredible fountain of love and mercy and grace, and get filled up with that on a daily basis so that we can have this reservoir that we can distribute it then to others. I want to close, and you all know I do that like 34 times, but I promise, we're there. But I want to read just the last portion of this prayer. It's what he says. He says, Father, I want these whom you have given to me to be with me where I am. And then they could see all the glory you gave me because you loved me even before the world began. Oh, righteous Father. He's praying to God the Father. He says, the world doesn't know you, but I do. And these disciples know that you sent me. I have revealed you to them and will continue to do so. And then your love for me will be in them and I in them. This is what he's saying there. He spent his greatest mission, Jesus' greatest mission. We say, well, it was to reconcile mankind to God. Yes, why? His greatest mission was to reveal the Father to people, thus creating the means of reconciliation. People had a bum idea of what God the Father was like. How many of you think they still do? And so he was saying, be holy, church. Be full of unity. Why? Because then they'll be able to see what he is really like. He's going, these guys that you gave me, these disciples, they believe you sent me. Father, may your love be made perfect in them. May they know that you love them. Hear me. That you love them with the same love, it says, that you love me. Stop. God, think about the implications of this. God is saying to you, he loves you the same way he loves his son Jesus. The same measure of love. How many of you believe that God the Father loves Jesus? You're kind of crazy about him, wouldn't you say? I mean, it's his only begotten son, and he came and lived a perfect life and gave his life for humanity and did this. God the Father loves him. And Jesus is saying, may they know that the same love that you have for me is in them. Wow. You talk about something that'll change your life? Rest on that one. Rest on that one. It has two enormous consequences. First, when I recognize how much he really loves the church, his bride, I'm going to be careful in how I handle her and talk about her. Secondly, I'm part of the bride. You're part of the bride. You're what makes up the bride. It's not that God just so loves the world, it's God so loves you. You. That way. That's how we're to see. That's our default position that we're called to live from. And when we do that, I am loved so relentlessly by this God. The same love that he has for his son Jesus, he has for me. That's how you feel about me? He's like, that's how I feel about you. But God, no but. There's nowhere you can go, the Bible says, that you would escape the love of God. And the enemy, come on, the enemy immediately wants to come in and try to steal that revelation away from you and say, but look what you did, and look what you've done, and look how you are. And maybe those people, but not you. And he comes in as an accuser. And that's why every day we got to come out of that fountain of truth and say, I am who you say I am. I'm loved by you. Oh, I'm a work in progress, that's for sure. But I'm not trying to get better so I get loved. I'm going to get better because I am loved. Big difference. Big difference. I have 3 biological sons. And when my first one was born, Sam, I experienced, and I think a lot of you can relate to this, I experienced something I never experienced before in life. I had no idea that that kind of love existed, of how I felt about this baby boy of mine. I did not know that love can feel that way. And I was, aghast. I really was. And then a couple years later, we found out we're going to have another son. And I had this concern. I never voiced it or anything, but I had this concern. There's no way I'm going to be able to love another human being like I love Sam. And then Jeremiah came. And it was zero effort. It was just right there. And I saw myself in him. And my love for him was just the same. And I was in awe of these two boys that I had. And then Ben came 5 years later. And Ben came, and it's like I was reborn again. And there it was. And each one of them is my favorite. And that sounds weird unless you're a parent. But Sam's my favorite. Jeremy's my favorite. They're my favorite, right? Jeremy's definitely the best looking of the three of them. Takes after his father. They're my favorites. When God looks at you, take a chance on this, would you? Take a chance on this. Would you dare to believe that you're his favorite? If it's true that my three sons, right, can all be my favorite because they're my sons, right? Isn't it true that none of us deserve him? Oh, you got it together more than this person, but this person's got it together more than you, and you're here, but they're there. It's like we all fall short of the glory of God. We're sons and daughters of God because we've been adopted by his grace. His love adopted us into his family. Does he have a favorite? It's you. It's me. That's what John, the beloved disciple, how he referred to himself as. He's like, I'm the one that he loves. I love that about John. He's like, I'm the one that Jesus loves. Who's he talking about there? He's talking about himself. He's like, I don't know about Peter. I don't know about these guys. I assume he does, but I know I got his eye. How would life be different for you and for me if we lived out from that place? We weren't trying to get there. We're already there. And from that place, I'm the one he loves. How would that change your life? Whew. It changes things. Man, we wouldn't have to be so argumentative or so defensive or so this or that. Why? The God of the universe is crazy about me. I'm going to ask our friends, Lucas and Evelyn, they're going to come out and they're going to close us with a song this morning. It's one of my favorites. I love this song because it magnifies who Jesus is. He's the one who is worthy, and there's only one who is. And then it's a declaration of this is how I'm going to live my life. In light of this, in light of being loved by the one who is so worthy, this is how I'm going to live my life. I want to invite you just to stay seated in the beginning of this song and listen to it and let it become your anthem as we sing. And then I want to close us in prayer. Okay.
The praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one that could ever You're worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Sing worthy, 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 worthy of every song we could ever sing. Yes, you are, Lord. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. You're worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We sing Jesus, oh Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, 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 the only one that could ever save. You're worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you, Jesus. We sing holy. And holy, there is no one like you, and there is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those. We sing holy, oh holy. There is no one like you, and there is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Yeah. Would you lead us in your love? Lead us in your love, Jesus. Will y'all please stand together? I'm going to declare this right now. I will build my life. Come on, every voice. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. Oh, I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. I will not be shaken. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. Oh, I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Oh, holy, there is no one like Jesus, and I will put my trust